Hello and welcome to my fourth League Game Battle Report. For this one, the prime mission was Burden of Trust, which you get 4 victory points for each objective you're holding outside your home objective. Outside your deployment zone, sorry, so your home objective does not count for it. And you also get 2 victory points if you're guarding an objective. This isn't an action. It's just if you have a unit on an objective and it's still there at the end of your opponent's turn, then you get 2 points for each objective that you're still on. So that can be scored on your home objective. You just don't get the 4 points for holding it. You still get 2 points for guarding it. The mission rule prepared positions. This means that battle line units can go to ground and can use heroic intervention for no command points, but you can't do it if you've already used that stratagem on a different unit this turn. Go to ground gives you the benefit of cover and a 6-up invulnerable save. Heroic intervention lets you charge in your opponent's charge phase after they have just made a charge, but you have to be within 6 inches of the unit that just charged, and you still roll a charge roll like normal. With the mission stuff out of the way, we're going to go on to my list. So I used Angron, Master of Executions with the Berserker Glaive, which gives him +1 strength, +1 damage. Nope, gives him +1 attack, +1 damage, my bad. 10 Jackals, a unit of 5 Berserkers, 2 units of 3 8-bound, 1 unit of 3 Exalted 8-bound, which I did have in Deep Strike, 1 lot of Spawn, then 2 Forge Fiends, both using the Ectoplasma cannons. So I had 3 cannons and then Forge Fiend claws. I had 1 of the Forge Fiends in Strategic Reserves, so I could rapid ingress with it. This was made before the point changes, so the list is now 1,520. But we were using the old points for this round, and we'll be using the updated points for the next round. My opponent was Dark Angels, using the Inner Circle Task Force detachment. So with that, we are going to go into turn 1. Turn 1, we roll and my opponent goes first. As usual, I did forget to say pitches at the beginning, which seems to be a recurring theme. But here we are. So, first turn, no primary, because you can't score it till turn 2. My opponent draws Cleanse and Overwhelming Force. They do manage to score Cleanse for 4 points. However, they do not score Overwhelming Force and they discard it. For Blessings this turn, I had Feel No Pain, and I believe I went for +2 movement, but I can't 100% remember. In my turn, I draw Extend Battle Lines and Engage in All Fronts. I do get Extend Battle Lines for 5 points, and Engage in All Fronts I don't score this turn, and I do discard it at the end of my turn for a command point. Turn 2, I can see that my opponent is lining up a few charges. So I took Feel No Pain and the 4+ Fight on Death. My opponent draws Sabotage and Storm Hostile Objective. Just as a side note, I'm not going to be going through what secondary missions are as much anymore, because I have made a separate video going through all secondary missions, how to score them, what, in my opinion, the best units are to score them. All different stuff like that. So I'm not going to be covering them as much as I used to. I will still be saying what's going on, who had what, but I'm not going to be going into detail about what each one is. Anyway, this turn, Angron was charged by a Judicar, and I can't exactly remember the name of the unit, but it's the Blood Angels melee unit. That's not the Blade Guard Terminators. not the Blade Guard. I've gone completely. Deathwing Knights is what I meant. It's not them. It's whatever their other one is called. Something in a circle or along those lines. He was charged by them. Either way, they brought him down to a single wound. We've got it in the video already. It's only turn 2. Brought him down to a single wound. He then killed all of the unit, but didn't manage to kill the Judicia. So he is still alive. He brought in his Deathwing Knights near my home objective. I did overwatch them with a Forge Fiend, but only managed to kill one. This turn, he also shot a unit of my 8-bound off the top left objective, which I did spend a command point to then make that objective sticky. He had a unit of 10 Hellblasters with Azrael and I believe a Lieutenant, which then gave them lethal and sustained hits, which was just insane. But there we are. That was what killed the 8-bound, so that was then sticky. In my turn 2, I draw Cleanse and Secure No Man's Land. I bring in my Forge Fiend. I brought in my Forge Fiend at the end of my opponent's move phase. So he's now up in the top left. I also brought in my Exalted 8-bound in my turn from Deep Strike onto the top left objective to get Cleanse. And I only get Secure No Man's Land for one objective. The only one I'm currently holding is the top left objective. At the end of my opponent's turn, the Judicia failed to kill Angron, and Angron did kill him. I kinda wish Angron did die here, because then I would have had a chance to bring back full wounds at the end of the next turn. However, it still ended up in my favour, so I can't complain. Turn 3, we again go for Feel No Pain and +2 movement, like at the beginning. My opponent this turn complete Sabotage and discarded Storm Hostile to then get Area Denial. He scores Area Denial for 2 victory points, as I had my unit of Berserkers and the Master of Executions within 6 inches of the centre, so he couldn't get the maximum for it, because they are hidden behind those L buildings that you can see on screen now. I'm not going to lie, I don't remember how my cultists died, but I know they did in this turn. So, I'd imagine it was the Deathwing Knights. Either way, they are dead now. He also finished off Angron this turn with his Dreadnought. So, Angron died at the beginning of my opponent's turn 3. My opponent also charged into my Forge Fiend and brought his Terminators down to charge the Master Executions and his Berserkers. So during this fight, they managed to get the Forge Fiend down to, I believe it was 5 or so wounds. I know they got it down to damaged, so I can't remember the exact amount of wounds. I did play this game like 2 weeks ago now. The Terminators that charged into my Master of Executions, they lost all but one Terminator and the Captain. So he then fought back and I lost, I think, 2 Berserkers. It really wasn't many, considering how tough their Terminators are. And then on to my turn. So in my turn 3, I drew Overwhelming Force and Marked for Death. So Overwhelming Force, I managed to score 3 points for this turn. Overwhelming Force, my opponent chose his Dreadnought, which currently sat in the bottom right, his Hellblaster squad, and his Deathwing Knights in the bottom left. This turn I moved down my Exalted 8-bound, which were in the top left, so they were now moving towards the Hellblasters unit, and my Forge Fiend also took a shot at them, but I believe that only killed like 2 of them. wasn't too impressive. My spawn, that you can see now, did end up charging into the Terminators, just in case the Berserkers couldn't finish them off. I don't remember much else happening this turn. So the Exalted 8 bound on their charge killed a majority of the unit, but there were still 2 Hellblasters left, and the and Azrael and the Lieutenant. So at the end of turn 3, I do take a secret mission. It's the same one that I always take, being that I need to get Angron onto my opponent's home objective. So beginning of turn 4, my opponent gets behind enemy lines, which they already have at the current moment, and they also get Bring It Down. So behind enemy lines, he scores for his Deathwing Knights, and Bring It Down again he gets with his Deathwing Knights as they kill the Forge Fiend on my home objective. The Master of Executions and his Berserkers have fights first, so they get to fight his Terminators before they get to fight a second time, and they do manage to finish off the unit. The the Exalted 8 bound on the center objective managed to kill off the rest of their Hellblasters, and as you can see on screen now, the blessings this turn, Angron does come back and he's in reserves, which is a nice change for this league because it does not happen very often for me. So with my Exalted killing the rest of his Hellblasters, that does score me my Marked for Death, because I had ended up keeping it, thinking that I could do it, just hadn't yet. Which I'm glad I did, because I did manage to score it. My turn 4, I draw Behind Enemy Lines and Defend Stronghold. I discard Defend Stronghold because I don't see the point in coming back, like, to try and clear 4 Deathwing Knights just to get, like, 3 points. So, discard it and I get Containment, which was great. So, Containment I scored with my Forge Fiend up in the top left. And I also scored it with it was Angron, who came back in my opponent's deployment zone. So I get 3 points for Behind Enemy Lines, and I get 6 for Containment. This turn, my Exalted 8 bound also charge Azrael and the Lieutenant. They managed to kill both this turn, which I was quite surprised, but also very happy about. So, yeah, that was the end of turn 4. Turn 5, my opponent draws Establish Locus and Engage on all fronts. They cannot physically score Engage on all fronts, now they only have 2 units left, being the Deathwing Knights and his Dreadnought. So, they get to discard Engage for free. They then get Defend Stronghold, which Angron is currently on. So they get rid of that for Recover Assets. And this turn, they do get 4 points for Established Locus, due to his Deathwing Knights being on my home objective. And they attempt to recover assets, but that does complete at the end of my turn, so I have a chance to stop them. For this turn, my blessings were +2 movement and advance and charge, because there was no point me going for survivability when I knew I was in a much better position. So I ended up drawing Bring It Down and Recover Assets. Recover Assets I managed to do with my spawn going back into my home field. I had the Master of Executions, who was still alive, do it in No Man's Land, and I had Angron do it in my opponent's deployment zone. Bring It Down. I see that my Exalted 8 bound can reach his Dreadnought, so I use their I spend 1 command point, so they automatically advance 6 inches. And with their movement of 9 already, that's 15 inches, so they end up just in front of the dreadnought, and they charge it. I have some extra command points, so I spend another one to give them +1 to wound, and they do end up killing the dreadnought, so that stops my opponent getting recover assets. It scores me bring it down, and I get maximum for my recover assets. I also complete the secret mission, which gives me an extra 20, which does end the game 84-76 to me. It was a very close game, and I'm very glad that I won it. One, because the person I was going against goes to tournaments all the time. He knows what he's doing. But he did also make a few questionable calls during the game, to put politely. I don't like talking bad about opponents. However, this one had some questionable rules, such as because his weapons were anti-vehicle, that meant they counted as mortal wounds, which it doesn't, just to clear that up for if someone doesn't know. That's not how it works at all. You have to have devastating wounds for it to count as devastating wounds. But I'm not going to go into that. The game is done. I did win, and you will see the scorecard in a moment. Thank you for watching. If you made it to the end, I really do appreciate it. Yeah. I hope this was more informative than my last battle report. I do apologise for that again. I was very rushed, and I should have put more time into it, but it's done with now. There will be one game after this, and that will then be the end of the league. My last game is going to be against Eldari, and it is actually the same person that I had my practice game against before going into the league. So that will be interesting. I'm also planning to not use Angron next time round, and I may try out some Terminators instead, because after the league I'm going to be using my Tyranids for a little while. So yeah, I'd like to use Tyranids just as a change of pace, and I've got a few ideas lined up for them. There's also going to be another video coming out soon where I used a Warhound Titan in a 2000 point game. So I'm going to be talking about how that went and changes to Titans that I think should be made. And then if that goes well, I'm hoping to make it a series. So I'll play games with different Titans and see how they play, if they should be buffed, if they should be nerfed, how did they perform in comparison to their points. So if you're excited for that, let me know. I'm going to be making the video either way, but it lets me know it's something you want to see. Thank you for watching. Instagram and Twitch are my channel page, and you can contact me there. Goodbye.